So what are the image formats available for the web? We're going to take a look at the image formats in this movie that are available to you for use on the web. And the image formats we will be referencing within this movie are image formats that do not require the browser to download any additional software in order to display the image. So we're looking at image formats that are available to display natively within the browser without any other software. So there are three main image formats available for the web. These are raster formats, which means they're made up of pixels of data that is stored within the image itself. So the raster format stores each individual pixel of data within your image. And that is the information that the browser uses to display on the web page. The three formats that are available to you are the GIF format. Some people pronounce this GIF. Both pronunciations are correct. I tend to use the GIF pronunciation, so that's what I will be using to pronounce a GIF. The next format is JPEG. And the JPEG format is available to you natively within the browser. It's a little bit different format, and we will look at what the differences are between these two. The last format for the web is the PNG format. And the PNG format has been around since the late 90s. But browsers did not start supporting it for a long time, until recently. So GIFs and JPEGs are the more common format that you will find in web pages. So what about the GIF format? What we'll do is take a look at each one of these three formats that are available and the properties that each one contains, because sometimes the properties determine your format that you will use for your specific image. The GIF format is the most common format on the web. The properties within a GIF make it the most common format. So what are those properties? First of all, a GIF image can only store 256 colors. And there are a lot more colors in the world than 256. So sometimes when you make your image a GIF, it doesn't look quite so great, especially if your image has a whole range of very different colors within that particular image. What a GIF image does allow is animation. And especially when the web first came out, that was the only way to animate for a web page. So GIF animations were created. And what a GIF image allows is multiple frames within a single image. So within individual frames, you can place different information. And as it runs through that animation, it looks almost like a movie. A GIF image also allows transparency. So I can make the background of an image clear, so another color from underneath will show through my image, and a GIF image allows this transparency. So if you need a transparent image, quite often you will be using a GIF for that specific image. A GIF image is considered lossless. And what we mean by that is you can reduce the file size without losing quality in the image. The way you do that is by reducing colors in the image. The next type of format is the JPEG format. And the JPEG format has different properties from the GIF format. First of all, a JPEG stores millions of colors. So you can put in there as many colors as you like, and they will display correctly in a JPEG format. JPEGs do not allow any animation. You cannot put multiple frames of information within a JPEG image. They also don't allow transparency, so you cannot make the background of a JPEG image transparent the way you can for a GIF image. The JPEG format is considered a lossy format. In other words, as you reduce the file size, you lose quality. The third type of format for the web is the PNG format. The PNG format was not supported in browsers until recently. Because of that, GIFs and JPEGs are more common on the web than the PNG format. This is also one you need to be cautious about and test in your various browsers, especially if you have users using your website who may not be in the latest and greatest browsers. PNG image properties allow millions of colors. So when the PNG format came out in the late 90s, the idea was a PNG was going to resolve all the issues we had for a GIF and JPEG image. So it was going to allow a lot more features, and browsers did not support that format. So this great new format that was going to solve some of our issues with having to decide between a GIF and JPEG, the browsers didn't support. So it couldn't be used. You always have to go based on what the browsers will support. So it contains millions of colors. Does not support animation. So you cannot animate a PNG. But it does have multiple levels of transparency. So in other words, just being transparent or not, you can have various percentages of transparency instead of a GIF which is transparent and a JPEG which is not. It is also considered a lossless format. You can reduce the file size without losing quality in the image. Personally, what I have found in general, and every image is slightly different, but in general, I tend to find the PNG format ends up a larger file size in most of the images I work in. So I always tend to use a GIF or JPEG still, even though a PNG is available. Now, the images you work in may be different from that, so you can always test. Also test in the browser. But that is what I have tended to find. So, when you are creating images for the web, here are some tips for your optimization process and trying to determine what format to use. What format should you use? Use the format that gives you the best quality image with the smallest file size. So when I go in to create an image for a web page, I always create that image in GIF and JPEG formats, and sometimes even PNG, and I can play around with them while I optimize the image to determine which format would be best for that specific image. Every image that goes onto a web page should be optimized. You should go through this process for every image. Create the exact image size you need before you determine the format. The size of the image can sometimes change which format it is you should be using for that image. So always create the size you need and then choose the format. Always save both your original image and the optimized version. So your original image is going to be that image that has a large file size. The optimized version is the smaller file size you create, and that smaller optimized version is the one that goes into the web page. Why should we save both? Because we always need to use that original version of the image every time you optimize. So if I decide that I want to change the size of an image, or I need to reduce the file size of the image that's presently on a web page, I won't use the one within the web page. I will always go back to my original, especially if it's a JPEG. Otherwise, you will find your images do not end up looking as nice as they should. So always use the original version of an image. Make sure you save that, along with your optimized version. So those are the formats that are available to you for images on the web, and also some tips to keep in mind when you create your images for your web pages.